The psychology of power and surveillance has never been more relevant than in the Bryan Kohberger case. What makes this story particularly chilling is how it reflects our society's growing obsession with watching and being watched.
That's such an interesting angle to explore. The way this case intersects with broader cultural themes about surveillance and control really sets it apart from typical true crime stories.
Well, let's dig into what makes this case so fascinating from a psychological perspective. Here was a criminology student who wasn't just studying criminal behavior, he was essentially studying the mechanisms of power in our society.
Hmm. You know what's particularly unsettling? His classmates consistently described him as someone who would intensely observe others while maintaining this clinical detachment.
Right. And that's where Michel Foucault's ideas about power and surveillance become so relevant. In Discipline and Punish, Foucault talks about how modern power operates through observation rather than force.
Oh, like the panopticon concept? Where prisoners never know if they're being watched, so they end up policing themselves?
Exactly. And here's where it gets really disturbing. Koberger seems to have wanted to flip that dynamic completely. Instead of being the observed, he allegedly wanted to become the ultimate observer, studying the very systems designed to catch criminals while potentially planning his own crimes.
That level of meta awareness is honestly terrifying. It's like he was trying to master the system from both sides.
And you know what makes this even more complex? Foucault's ideas about how punishment in modern society isn't just about consequences, it's about spectacle, about sending a message to the public.
Well, that certainly adds another layer when you consider Koberger's alleged online activity and his apparent fascination with controlling crime narratives.
Yeah, it's like he was positioning himself as both the creator and the audience of his own horrific spectacle. In his daily life, he reportedly felt powerless and alienated, but through his alleged actions, he found a way to place himself at the center of power.
So, if we look at the broader implications, what does this tell us about the intersection of personal psychology and societal structures?
Well, consider this. We live in a society that's increasingly focused on surveillance and control. Just think about all the ways we're constantly watching and being watched through social media, security cameras, data tracking. Someone who feels alienated might see these systems as tools for gaining power.
That's such a crucial point about how cultural obsessions can become dangerous weapons in the wrong hands.
And here's what makes this case so significant for understanding our current moment. It represents this perfect storm of personal pathology meeting societal structures. Like, you know how we're all fascinated by true crime? Well, Koberger seems to have been aware of these narratives and wanted to write himself into that story.
The way you're describing it really highlights how these cases aren't just about individual psychology, they're about broader cultural forces at work.
Exactly. And what's particularly chilling is how he apparently used his academic understanding to try to stay one step ahead. The precision, the planning, the attention to forensic details, it all speaks to someone who had studied these systems extensively.
You know what this makes me think about? The responsibility of academic institutions in teaching these subjects.
That's, that's actually a crucial point. How do we balance the need to study criminal behavior with the potential risks of providing this knowledge to someone who might misuse it? It's like giving someone a manual for how to exploit our social systems.
And that really brings home why this case has captured public attention so completely. It's not just about the crimes, it's about seeing our own social structures reflected back at us through this darkened lens.
So here's what I think we need to take away from this. While we can't prevent every tragedy, we need to understand how our cultural obsessions with power, control, and surveillance might sometimes feed into darker impulses in certain individuals.
That's really what makes this conversation so important. It's about understanding ourselves and the world we're creating.
And perhaps that's the most valuable lesson here. The recognition that our systems of power and control, while necessary, need to be carefully examined. Because in the wrong hands, these tools of order can become instruments of chaos